Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, I know, and today we are returning with a big video. It happens every single year at the end of March. Wrexham release their financial accounts from the previous season, from the year that they have been released, and today it is that time of year where we take a dive into the sensational financial rise of Wrexham Football Club through the annual financial statement, and we've got all the numbers, all the figures that you need to know about, the important ones, the profit, the loss, the turnover, every single bit of detail is coming your way into today's video. And I know there's a lot of you out there that do love the analytical side of things to do with the figures, the finances, etc. So this will be right up your street today. And we're going to be looking at the numbers from the League One campaign that has just gone. And as usual, since the takeover, these numbers do not disappoint. Before we get into today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham AFC content, it's coming your way on the channel. Make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. Any other subscriptions, any new subscriptions to the channel are much appreciated. Let's go for 500 likes on today's video, and without further ado, let's get talking first on the wage bill. So the wage bill at Wrexham rose from 9.85 million in League 2 to 17.58 million in League 1, which is more than understandable given the fact that Wrexham had gone up a league, and in order to maintain our expectations and ambitions at the club of, consistently going up the leagues and reaching the Premier League in the shortest amount of time that Rob and Ryan want to get there for, Wrexham needed to spend big, because in League 1 there were so many historical teams, so many teams in that level that were just good teams for that league. You are looking at the likes of Barnsley, Bolton, Wigan Athletic, the teams that haven't really succeeded when we were in League 1, but they were teams that had that good funding, the good squads, the good history in that division, the teams that we were going to come up against and think they're going to be our rivals at the top end of the table. But obviously that wasn't to be the case, but Wrexham needed to spend to align with the ambitions. And the main thing for me is, in this case, a lot of people are saying that's an astronomical amount to spend in League 1. The thing is, if Wrexham are generating this revenue, which we'll get talking on later in the video, the money is going to be there on the table for Wrexham. We're going to spend it. You're not going to suddenly just go, okay, there's £70 million that we could spend on wages, let's just leave it there and hold back a minute, because it's not going to be the case. But you are looking at the wage bill from that season. We did bring in the likes of Jay Rodriguez in January, who's on a reported £20,000 a week, George Dobson, Arthur Okonkwo, Sam Smith, all big signings that league that you are comparing to the League 2 season, where we did sign players on a much lower wage. You are looking at the wages, they probably doubled for the players that we have bought in comparison from League 2 to League 1. So all those players I've just named, along with all the other signings from the summer and the January transfer window, are going to be on a good chunk at Wrexham. For League 1, it is a massive figure, but those players got us promoted to the Championship. They got us that big money, lucrative move up a league, so why are we complaining? Talking on the losses next now, Wrexham's losses rose from £2 million to £14.85 million, which is a scary increase on paper. You are looking at it, it's a £12.5+ million loss just between the space of 12 calendar months. But in my opinion, and a lot of other fans, they concede that it really does highlight the growth of the club off the pitch, as we see the club transition from a club behind the scenes where we had less than 100 employees at the time of the takeover, to now where we have got so many employees on the pitch and off the pitch at Wrexham that, like I said, the transitions that this club are making off the pitch to ensure that we are being run as a Premier League club on a day-to-day basis is really vital, and that is a main reason why the losses have gone up at Wrexham Football Club. We recruited heavily, of course, on the pitch across the both transfer windows, where we signed 14 players in that League 1 season, as well as the number of non-playing staff increasing sizably. The number of employees at Wrexham last season in League 1 was 313, in comparison to League 2 just 12 months before, when it was 255. So the club have brought in an extra 60 odd staff on the pitch and off the pitch to just help the club grow forward, and like I said before, align with the ambitions, which is to just be successful in every season that Wrexham do compete in. I don't have to speak on it too much again, but it is a mixture of players and employees, and the costs as well at the football club have risen from £11.04 million to £19.94 million. Now the wages in this will play a huge factor of the £14 million loss, because obviously we are paying a lot of money for the players players, as well as the acquisition fee of players, the likes of Sam Smith for £2 million, Ollie Rathbone £500,000. There were some big money signings in that transfer window where you compare it to League Two, where there was the odd one here and there for £250,000, £300,000, but of course we broke that £1 million transfer record fee at Wrexham for the first time in the club's history. So it was always going to come back, and I think we were always going to see an increase in losses, but there'll obviously be plenty of other factors as to why Wrexham have contributed to this £14 million loss. You're looking at the loans that have been paid back by the club, debts, academy movements to help them go up a level. We're seeing them secure that Cat 3 status. So there are going to be a number of different reasons why this £14.8 million loss is to be seen on the annual statement in comparison to just a small £2 million that in the grand scheme of things it does look like a small number now. But again, it's more about the club transitioning on and off the pitch to just set it up and get the infrastructure right if we are to inevitably reach the Premier League. And I think it was a setup to help us in the Championship this season, which I think as time goes on we'll be forever grateful for. Talking on the commercial side of things now, Wrexham's commercial revenue rose just over 32% from 13.18 million to 17.33 million. This number would consist of sponsorships on shirts. You're looking at United Airlines, HP, MetaQuest, etc., and also general advertising across the club. I wasn't expecting it to drastically increase compared from League 2 to League 1, but I do think in the next financial reports that we will see coming out in 2027, I do think this number will undergo a visible change. Of course, £17.3 million for a League 1 club in just commercial revenue is an absolute joke. And I think now that we are in a league in the Championship where it's one of the most watched leagues in the world, I think I remember doing a video at the start of the year, it was like the 7th most watched league and the 7th highest quality league across the world. These sponsorships, to maintain their place on the Wrexham shirts, etc., across the ground, are going to pay a bigger price. And I do think that number in next season's financial report will soar above £25 million. So if we're looking at it from the League 1 point of view, it's a massive number. Again, it was big in League 2, it's even bigger in League 1, and people still to this day are questioning where Wrexham get their finances for. You're looking at a single path of revenue bringing in £17 million into the club. That is where we get our money from. And if we are further looking at the retail across 12 months, our retail income increased by just over £600,000 from 4.45 million to 5.06 million. Similar to what I've just said about the commercial revenue, I can see this figure massively improving in comparison to our League 1 figures from the Championship this season. Because cast your minds back to the summer when Wrexham did release the new kits, of course, the home, the third, the away shirt and the training kits. Following that statement, they also did say that the shirts are now sold in a various amount of retailers across the globe, and they won't only be available in limited countries across Europe. So we are looking at Australia, we're looking at Canada, we're looking at America. This number is going to drastically increase because of how easy it is for our worldwide fan base to just go to a shop, get their shirt, and that's it. That's money in Wrexham's pocket. That's a shirt that they've got that has been so easily accessible to them for the first time since the takeover of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. So what I would say is next season, take a look at the retail income, and I'm sure it will increase even further than it has done over the past couple of seasons. Matchday revenue at the club rose from 5.02 million to 5.96 million, which was helped out last season by the increased capacity of the temporary stand, which overall improved the capacity of the racecourse by 3,000 seats. Of course, going into this campaign in the Championship, whether that number will go back down slightly because there's no temporary stand with the work of the cop stand, so whether we'll see a decrease in that we don't know, but nearly £6 million in gate receipts was seen by Wrexham. So the overall revenue, a statistic that in my opinion just further shows the strength and the importance of the global presence of Wrexham Football Club across the world. 40.5% of the revenue was from the UK. That last season was 47.5% in 2024. So it's gone down in the UK, which obviously means it highlights the global appeal that Wrexham do have, because 57.7% of the revenue this season was contributed by the rest of the world, which is an increase in last season's number, which again is just a crazy sentence to comprehend and just to process the fact that the majority of Wrexham's revenue, over half of the revenue, is coming from overseas. 5 years ago, I can guarantee if you go back in the reports, if they're available, you would see that number not even be above 1.5%. It just shows how big of an impact that the duo have had, and I think it just does highlight the importance of Welcome to Wrexham, which we'll get talking on in a minute. Wrexham is a global appeal. There's reasons why Wrexham are facing off against some of the biggest teams in English football. We've played Chelsea, we've played Man United, we're playing Liverpool in New York. There's a reason why this is happening, and it's because Wrexham has become a global brand, not only in English football, but it's one of the clubs that has caught the attention and caught the eye of many Americans, Canadians, Australians, etc. So to see that number is just absolutely crazy, and let's continue to keep that strong worldwide appeal to our fans. So finishing off with the topic of the video that you've all clicked on to see, the overall turnover at Wrexham Football Club, the most important figure and the most important number that every fan looks for in these financial reports, and yet again at the club, it is a record-breaking one. A turnover of £33,335,021 has been recorded, which is a record for a non-parachute payment club in League One. Second place in this list was Bolton Wanderers in 2024 when they had a turnover of £15.2 million. So Wrexham have absolutely smashed that record, almost doubling it from the previous holders, Bolton Wanderers. So whether you like it or not, non-Wrexham fans, Wrexham fans, Wrexham are a financial force in the EFL. And I do think overall, for the figures that we have seen in this list, when you're looking at the losses, the wages, etc., I think we're really lucky that we did get promoted, because I think it would have hurt big time on the financial side of things. It was an abnormally big wage bill for League One, so credit to all the staff, Phil Parkinson, Steve Parkin, Aidan Davison, and all the players that contributed to that promotion-winning success last season, because they created something magical and they helped stop something quite bad on the financial side of things. So they helped take us up a level, secured hopefully some big sponsorships, an even bigger increase in revenue. And I do think overall, just to finish off the video, it is really important to highlight that despite Wrexham not benefiting financially directly, off the Welcome to Wrexham documentary, it plays a pivotal role on the commercial side of things in terms of securing sponsorships and overall just continuing to improve the club's brand financially to sponsors and across the world, for these big name companies that look at Wrexham and think, they're one of the most watched clubs in the EFL. They're slowly making their way over to the States, to Canada, etc. They've got a big worldwide fan base. We want to get in there. We'll put our money where our mouth is and sponsor this wonderful football club, because that Welcome to Wrexham documentary is one of the main reasons why Wrexham is where it is today in terms of our global stance. So we cannot thank Rob and Ryan enough for going ahead with that idea. So that is it for today's video. Yet again, another incredible financial report from Wrexham. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, the losses have gone significantly up, but we're making up with that through the turnover. And I do think next year we've got an interesting video that hopefully will come out tomorrow or the day after regarding the Cop stand, which might have an impact on next year's financial report. But let's hope next season, well, this season, we can have secured some big sponsorships and see that turnover increase even further. So until the next video, take care guys, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Take care, up the Championship Reds.